Have you heard that phrase, hire before you're ready? It makes sense in that scrappy hustle kind of way, do it before you're ready. But what does that really mean? Like, what kind of criteria should you follow to see if you're actually ready or not? Well, today's episode will help you answer this for yourself.
Hey, hey, and welcome to this episode of Connections, Coffee, and Confidence. My name is Janice Fogarty, and I'm a communications strategist. This podcast is where I get to talk about all things strategic communications, including content creation and messaging. So, whether you create content for your business or as your business, I know you're going to find something in each episode that contributes to your success. Thank you so much for being here today. And now, here's today's episode.
So, have you hired anyone for your business yet? Have you hit a stage where you wonder if maybe you should, or are you too busy to even think about it? I've hired for two positions in my business, and that probably sounds a little bit more grand than it actually might be. I've hired a VA for two positions on a contract basis for defined roles. That's what I needed at the time, and it's given me the breathing space that I need to step back and do some reassessing. Part of that reassessing has included wondering if I need to hire someone on a more permanent basis. How would I pay them? Where do I find someone with the complementary skills required to fill my gaps? Can I afford them? Oh my God, do I really need to hire someone? I think there's a certain fear factor in being responsible for someone else's wages, for letting go of a piece or pieces of your work, for having to communicate with someone else on how you want something done. And look, you probably grow out of that fear at some point, but I don't know what that magic tipping point could be. And that fear probably clouds our ability to rationally know if we need to take this step. So here's the six warning signs that you might be ready to hire somebody, beginning with your customer service, your product or service, or look, something else essential slipping. You need to be able to provide customer service, even if that's just updating your email sequences and creating or streamlining your online interaction and processing sales. If what you're doing or providing isn't up to scratch, you especially need your customer service to be top notch. But you also need the capacity to bring your delivery standards back up. If you're too stretched to do your thing well and you don't have the time to deal with your customers or clients the way that they need it, then maybe this is something you need to think about. Basically, if it's essential to your business making money and keeping your customers happy, then it's essential to pay someone to do it. The second is when a group of related tasks seem to evolve out of your work pattern and they need to be done regularly. Something we don't always think about as an entrepreneur or a small business owner is hiring for a specific job. We ourselves tend to be the everyone for our business in the early days. We create and produce, we sell, provide the service, do the paperwork, post online, process the refunds, sweep the floor, turn the lights off at the end of the night, and more. We sometimes forget that not everyone is like that. And when we have a set of tasks or responsibilities that are related and can be combined into a coherent job description, that neatly packaged ask can be a highly attractive proposition to someone who enjoys a small work environment but needs clear boundaries. Hiring the wrong person can be horrible, both for your business as well as for your confidence. And having a specific set of tasks, like a defined set of responsibilities, and an awareness of the type of person you need for those tasks and who you need just to work with will enable you to search for the right candidate. When you see that defined set of related tasks develop, it means that that part of your business is growing and it's a specific piece of work you can logically hire someone else for. The third sign you might want to hire somebody is when your gut tells you. First person I hired was a bookkeeper. I don't have a problem with numbers. I used to tutor math way back in the day, but it turns out I hate thinking about asset classes and journal entries. I can keep track, but not do the fancy double entries or any of that jazz. Like it hurts me to even just think about it. And that's how I knew I had to hire someone to do it. It was taking up so much of my time and headspace. I was left feeling stressed and drained, and it just wasn't worth it. As soon as I could afford it, I hired a wonderful bookkeeper. If you have a job that you truly hate, one that stresses you out, drains your time and energy to the point where you can't do other things that you need to do, perhaps that's a job you should hire for. Similarly, if there's something that you can't do, such as build and maintain your website, that's a job you should hire out. That might look like a contract to get the initial bulk of the work done with a set number of hours per month after that, or it could be a part time position with set hours and a schedule. That's up to you. But if it sucks your soul or you can't do it and it needs to be done, that's something you can hire for. Number four is about time off. Have you had any? Do you feel like you can? Are you even able to think about it? Do you know what it's like to get more than 4 to 5 hours of sleep in a night? Are you overwhelmed? And this is a tricky one because sometimes when you're overwhelmed, you can't even see it for yourself. How sore is your jaw from the constant clenching? Do you have headaches all the time? Sore shoulders, neck, back? When is the last time you laughed and it felt good? What about the last time you cried? Because some days are hard and everyone needs to cry sometimes. I cried last Friday at my desk because I needed the release. But if you are so overwhelmed that you can't even cry, it's time to get some help. And I speak from experience. This is not just help for your business. Find someone to talk to, a dog to pet, a park to walk in, a glass of water to drink. And please get some help in your business so you can take a step back and take care of yourself. Have a day off, have two, recharge, and be able to continue. Sign number five is one that you may or may not have thought about. When is the last time you took on new business or even went after new business? If you aren't taking on new business, you aren't growing and your foundation is a bit shaky. Like what happens if you lose your current clients, even just one of them? It's much easier to go after new business when you are secure and feeling confident, not after the gut punch that is losing a client. Now, you might not be going after new business because your confidence is a bit shaky at the best of times. It can be difficult to branch out sometimes, to put yourself out there and make that ask. But if your lack of confidence is rooted in the idea that you have no idea how you would accomplish the extra work, maybe it's time to evaluate if the new business would cover the cost of getting an extra person involved. It might be that you take on new business and an extra person and stand still for a bit. But that extra body might be exactly what you need to get your head out of the day to day and look around at the opportunities, put together some pitches or proposals, and get in even more business, also known as more money. And finally, the sixth sign that you might need to consider hiring someone is if you've created a long or a medium term plan that involves you selling your business or moving away from it. Succession planning is important and something that is so often overlooked. You need to hire someone that you can mold into your replacement. This enables you to move away from your business in the future, safe in the knowledge that someone with the vision and the skills required to carry out that vision will be in place while you go live in your villa in France for 6 to 8 months every year. A business that has a strong employee base with a solid corporate knowledge is a good candidate for acquisition too. It could be a merger with a competitor, be folded into a complementary business, or straight up purchased by someone who doesn't like the startup process, but who enjoys stabilizing and growing a young business. If you realize that your future plans do not include having a hand in the everyday management of your business, it's time to think about hiring someone or a few people to make this a possibility. If one or more of these ideas have sparked something in you, you may now be thinking about hiring, which was the point of the episode, right? But what about reasons not to hire? Besides the abject fear of leveling up, I can really only think of three. Obviously, if you're thinking about hiring someone, the money is a factor. Maybe you like the pressure of having an extra financial responsibility in order to make things happen, and maybe you like to be assured that you can afford something before you buy it. Either way, it's up to you to run your numbers and carefully consider if it really is a possibility just yet, or if you need to take out a loan to fund the growth required to pay an extra body, or the likelihood of getting the extra clients required to cover those costs. If you hire before you're really ready, your business might run out of money, and that in turn runs you out of business. So, money. Also, you need to make sure that you've done your internal work, your mental preparations, your growing up, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes we get really personally attached to our business, to our work. We sometimes have difficulty in letting it go, handing over responsibility to someone else. We want it done the way we would do it. And sometimes that's necessary in terms of safety or conforming to regulations. That's not how we do it, it's how it must be done. But sometimes it is just our ego. And we need to remember that the important thing is the outcome. Does the work product suit the requirements? When I edit someone's blog post, I don't need it to read like I would have written it. I need it to make the point clearly and concisely. I won't edit words to words that I personally like better, but I will edit to more accurate words, for example. And this can be incredibly difficult for some. So if you can't step back and hand something over, maybe you need to wait. And lastly, if you're happy with where you are, maybe your business is taking over exactly as you need it to right now. Maybe you've got other things on the go in your life and you need to focus your bigger efforts there. If things are good and you're good, well, why challenge the status quo? Be aware of the itch for a new challenge or more money creeping up and be flexible enough to re examine that status quo should it happen. But if you're clear on where you are and you're happy to be there, then be happy in your present. I applaud you. There was some interesting work done showing how the more people you hire, the more you actually get paid as a founder. So if money is your motivator, it's probably worth looking that up and printing the graphs out to put up on your wall behind your computer. And if you're more interested in having a lifestyle supported by your work, plan a vacation or a regular coffee date or a volunteer gig, something to motivate you to actually take some time for yourself. Whatever your motivation, I hope you use these points as something to think about when it comes to hiring someone or not. Thank you so much for listening today. If you have 2 minutes, I would really appreciate if you could leave a review or share this podcast with a friend. Your support is so important to this independent podcast and to me. If you'd like to hear more, you can always hop on my email list at janisfogarty.com/email list, all one word, and I will leave that link in the show notes. I email weekly with a story and tips on improving your communication skills. And until next time, I hope you have a fan freaking tastic rest of your week.